Hey, Vash here. Today we're going to show you all the insane tips that I wish I had known when I started playing New World. Did you know that you could max out your weapon skill in 4 hours? Did you know that dungeons make every other activity in the game completely pointless? Did you know that different colored damage numbers actually expose damage vulnerabilities? Did you know you can multiply your quest XP? Did you know that you can get more XP when you're flagged for PvP? Did you know that you can level to 60 in 59 hours? Yeah, and there is so much more. After sinking 12 plus hours a day playing New World since its launch, I have peeled apart the secrets of the game. And now I'm going to show everything you need to know to be the master of New World. If this video helps you, please consider joining my team by hitting like and subscribe. Huge thank you to my donators on Patreon and Twitch for making this video possible. More on that at the end of the video. So, did you know you could skip the tutorial? I recommend you kill at least 4 enemies to get your first weapon skill point. After that though, if you've played through the beta already, you probably want to skip through. So open your game menu and click on Skip to New World. Next, you may want to do the starting quest with your friends. So turn in the first quest, but don't accept the next one. Leave the quest box and open your map. You will see a yellow quest in each of the 4 starting zones. You can travel to wherever your friend is and accept the quest close to him, so that you can quest every step of the way together. When traveling, make sure you stick to the main roads or you will die to high-level enemies. If you're getting chased, always make sure to dodge roll right as the attack is about to hit you to completely evade the damage. If you want to play solo, don't worry at all because the quests all converge together eventually anyways. Just make sure when you reach the level 10 faction mission that you all choose the same faction, or you won't be able to join the same company or PvP together.
We cannot stand by and watch others suffer.
You will get gathering tools by following your main quest line. Upgrading to iron tools will upgrade your gather speed by 30%. Go to the workshop to craft them and make sure you do this as soon as you are able. Each gather tool tier is gated behind a level requirement, and the second you hit that requirement, you want to upgrade your tools to give yourself an edge and to always be as efficient with your time as possible. As soon as you upgrade your tools, you want to upgrade all of your gathering skills to level 50 because you're going to need that for some quests that you're going to run into. After 50, however, you shouldn't waste your time gathering anything more than is needed. More on that later. Upgrade to steel tools as quickly as you can to boost your gathering speed all the way up to 120%. High levels will have access to the best gathering tools in the game, which will amplify your gathering speeds by stupid amounts. We are talking like 400+% faster, making you regret all the time you wasted with your slow, crappy tools at the lower levels. Always remember to equip a bag slot whenever you unlock it. Also remember to replace your old inferior bags with better ones as often as you are able. Your starting bag will only have 50 carry capacity, whereas the next level tier will have 100 carry capacity, and they just get better and better from there. You can craft bags or buy bags from other players, and when you get to level 45, you will unlock your last bag slot, which will allow you to carry a staggering amount of weight and will make your gathering runs just mind-blowingly efficient. Oh, and always remember to harvest the big node first. People love to come out of nowhere and steal your loot. Make sure they don't get the best one while you are collecting all the biddies. Once you start running dungeons, you will learn that gold might as well grow on trees, so you can buy whatever you want with ease. Alright, so now here is a huge tip. choose healer or tank. If you want to play healer, put 100% of your points into focus and start using a healing staff. If you'd rather play a tank, start putting all of your points into constitution and start using a sword and shield. New World basically revolves around dungeon running and group activities. Once you start dungeon running, you will realize that everything else is completely pointless. Dungeons give such an insane amount of gold and items and experience that you won't even know what to do with it all. Why does this matter? Because tanks and healers get groups literally whenever they want. DPS, damage per second classes, are a dime a dozen. Everyone wants to play DPS. Amrine Dungeon is the first dungeon you reach at level 25. If you advertise healer or tank looking for Amrine group in the guild recruitment or global channel, you will get a group invite almost instantly because everyone is running DPS and is desperate to fill those essential roles. After switching my role to healer, people are sending me invites out of the blue because people are so desperate for a really good healer to start their dungeon runs. Running a dungeon in New World requires that you have a one-time use key. And I've never once had to actually craft a key because healers are in such high demand. Just to give you some context on how good dungeons are, I joined a group and ran a dungeon. I made over 200 gold, finishing the dungeon and salvaging all of the garbage gear. Then, I sold the bind on equipped gear with perfect stats for 500 gold a piece. In 3 days, I made over 10,000 gold. Now, if you are on a new server, you really want to make sure you take full advantage of the fact that everyone is going to get the dungeons at about the same time, and they are all going to be using their free quest keys to run the dungeons. After the initial server rush is over, the dungeon groups are going to dry up like crazy because farming for dungeon keys is actually extremely annoying and is not solo content. It takes groups of people working together to be able to farm for the keys. Needing a group to farm the materials to do a group dungeon is going to turn most people off. So take advantage of the dungeon opportunities while you can and make a name for yourself as an extremely talented tank or healer so that people will add you to their friends list and look for you to do future dungeons when they have keys. Alright, so now here's a huge tip. You will hear differing opinions on this, but here is what I 100% recommend. Only ever use heavy armor and never, ever repair. Heavy armor means you won't get the 20% damage bonus or have the long range roll. You can still dodge any attack, the same as if you had done a light armor dodge roll. You won't be able to travel quite as fast because the dodge roll does move you farther and faster. But the advantage is that you will be able to absorb a ton more damage, and you will completely avoid the gold-sucking black hole that is the repair sink. Repairing gear costs an insane amount of gold. You may not notice this in the early game, because main quests and side quests give you so much gold. But as you run out of those quests, you will realize that dungeons are one of the only good gold farms in the game. And you want to hold on to your gold as much as possible because housing is extremely valuable and crafting is very expensive. I was able to run Amrine and Starstone, the level 25 and 35 dungeons, with fully damaged gear, and it was absolutely no issue whatsoever. Heavy armor still provides a very good damage reduction even when it's fully damaged, and likewise weapons still do very well when fully damaged. The downside is that you lose all of the ability and stat bonuses, so if you were struggling in a dungeon and you needed that extra edge, you can always repair your gear to get that needed boost. Make sure you salvage all of your extra gear. The only gear that people are interested in buying are high rarity pieces with absolutely perfect stats. Anything less, you can just salvage for the repair parts, but more importantly, the gold. If you ever locate any ways of generating more gold, pay close attention because this entire game revolves around the gold economy, and everything good costs lots and lots of gold. Make sure you master the dodge. You can clearly get hit, but if you time your dodge perfectly, you will take 0 damage. This is usable when you are solo farming, and it becomes a hugely needed skill once you get into dungeon running. When a giant boss jumps directly on your head and you take 0 damage, you'll be happy that you practiced your timing. Just make sure you always have stamina for your dodge, and that when you dodge, you never use up 100% of your stamina. When you use up your entire stamina bar, your stamina regenerates at a much slower rate. So if you can time your dodges so that you only ever hit about 10%, then your stamina will regenerate very quickly. Speaking of stamina, always make sure you harvest nodes with full stamina, or you will harvest at a reduced speed. One of the biggest things I wish I had known when I started was to collect water. When you find a light blue stream or lake on the map, walk to it and you can gather the water. What you need to know is that you can collect and hold thousands of water if you equip it as a usable item, and it does not count towards your bag weight. This means water is the most valuable food in the entire game because it's free, it's unlimited, it's a crafting requirement for many recipes, and you can use it to heal yourself while running without slowing down your run speed at all. Even at higher levels, I find myself still using water constantly because it's an easy way to recover health at no cost without slowing down your travel time. Speaking of food, always carry food. Cooking is such an important skill in New World. Not only can you eat it, but you can make gold and XP by providing food for faction board missions. Food provides huge health regeneration bonuses. When you eat food, you regenerate a massive amount of health over time. It gets cancelled if you get hit, so it has limited use while you are actively fighting. But if you are running away, you can use it to get a lot of health without slowing you down. Even more important is that it gives you a 20-minute buff that regenerates 1% of your health every 2.5 seconds. Once you've experienced how cheap and effective it is, you will feel crippled without it. So never pass up on an opportunity to skin a rabbit or a turkey or any creature lying there with free food. Visiting farms is also a great way to get your hands on free food for your recipes. Certain settlements also have free food and supplies for you. You can get free milk from cows. You can get free honey from beehives. There's a faction cart you can loot if your faction controls the town for some additional supplies. Keep your eyes open for the free settlement lootables. Now let's talk about combat. In order to get credit for a mob kill, make sure you hit it with at least 2 light attacks. This is really important when you're waiting 10 minutes for a quest boss to spawn if you want to get credit for the kill. This also means that if you see a player fighting something and you hit it a couple of times, you are going to get full credit for the kill, leveling your XP and weapon skill. Don't miss out on the easy gains, and of course, you might earn some goodwill from your fellow adventurers, which could save your life. I've been saved many times from opposing faction players, so it's a win-win for everyone. I have obviously advocated playing tank and healer, but let's be honest, most players are rocking DPS. So when choosing your weapons, here is what you need to know. You can pick your weapons one of 2 ways. Either pick your weapon and then match your attribute, or pick your attributes and then match your weapons. If you want to open world PvP, then it's important to make sure your enemies can't get away from you. Running is a really big issue. It's hard to catch enemies when they run. This means you want to max out the Great Axe and the Hatchet and put all of your stats into Strength. Strength is the primary stat for the Great Axe and the Hatchet, meaning you will get a massive damage increase. If you want to do the highest raw PvE damage, then take the Rapier and the Musket and put all of your stats into Dexterity. You can take the bow over the musket if you don't like guns. Rapiers have some of the highest burst damage in the entire game. They're completely insane, although not nearly as good for PvP. The musket is actually deadly in PvP. If you're chasing down light armored enemies, the musket will absolutely melt everyone into dust. The burning shot, not only is it the best for PvP, but it is also the ultimate tool for hunting down deer and elk and animals that want to run away from you. By getting a burning shot directly into the head, you will have a massive 13-second damage over time effect once it's been upgraded, making it so that deer and any PvE creature that wants to run away from you is just going to burn to death and die. One of the things I miss most now that I have actually switched over to a healer is no longer having that maxed out dexterity, stat line, and musket to blow creatures up in like seconds with that burning shot. You want to use magic. Take the Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet and make sure you put all of your stats into intelligence. Magic has a nice blend of range, utility, and area of effect damage. Now, if you're not confident with the controls, then I suggest you put all your points into strength and take the Warhammer and a sword and shield. With this build, you can hit multiple enemies with each swing. You will have massive crowd control and defensive capabilities, and the weapon is very simple and easy to control. All melee weapons can hit multiple enemies, so play with them all and get a feeling for which ones you like the best. Using the Great Axe or Warhammer will give you the ability to wipe out just huge groups of enemies with ease, which can be used so effectively for AoE farming. Now, I also have to mention what I call the Paladin. Now, this really is just a healer, but it's my all-time favorite build in the game. Put all of your points into focus. Equip heavy armor with a sword and shield and a healing staff. This makes you almost unkillable in PvE. Use your opening attack abilities with your healing staff and switch to the sword and shield to lay down the pain. Damage isn't crazy, but the class is basically unkillable. It gives you the option to play as a god tier healer or as a very solid tank without the constitution advantages. In dungeons, everyone loves me because I bring so much more to the table than your typical healer. Now, it's important to pick the best skills for your weapons, but that's a huge subject and I will go over the best weapon skills in another video, so make sure you hit that sub button and check out all my other content after the video. Choosing the right zone is actually very important based on which weapons you have decided to specialize in. Different enemies in different zones are weak to certain types of attacks. When you attack an enemy and you see blue numbers, that means your weapon is weak against that type of enemy. White means neutral, and yellow means your weapon is powerful against that type of enemy. Orange attacks are critical strikes. If you hit an enemy in the head or from behind, you will score a critical hit 100% of the time. So aiming and position is a huge factor in maximizing your damage in a fight. Because there is XP scaling in New World, it is important that you fight the highest level enemies possible, because as enemies go up in levels, so does the XP they award you. This means if you find a high level zone where the enemies are weak against your damage type, then you are going to have up to 130% advantage, or if you pick the wrong zone for your weapon, you may find yourself only doing 60% of your full damage, so pay close attention to the colors. There are areas on the map that are elite enemy camps. If you have 5 to 10 players in the area, you can team up and push through these areas, leveling up your weapons to insane levels super fast. There are even areas that spawn more enemies if there are enough players in the area, making them some of the craziest farm locations on the map. Borsholm is one of these locations where not only can you level your XP and weapons, but you can also max your skinning in the blink of an eye. When you get to the maximum level, I was getting 500 XP per boar that I skinned, and I maxed out my skinning all the way to 200. Honestly, too fast, because as soon as you max out to 200, you're no longer getting that 500 XP per skin, which kind of made me sad because that XP was amazing. When you get to the maximum level areas, you can level your weapon from level 1 to maxed out in 4 hours fighting these elite enemy locations. So don't worry about mastering all the weapons until you are max level. Now let's talk about towns. The first thing you want to do is talk to the innkeeper and bind yourself to the location.
You're here to check in? Be my guest.
Remember, if you log out of the game, you always want to log out in a town. Whenever you are logged out in a town, you are gaining rested XP. That means when you come back into the game, all the rested XP that you have gathered up until that point will act as double leveling XP. Now, by binding yourself to the location from talking to the innkeeper, you have a 1-hour recall that can take you back to the last inn you bound to. So it's important to always think about that when reaching a new settlement. Now, keep in mind that if you are running with 100% broken gear, then you don't have to bind to the location you are questing in, because when you die, you're going to automatically get the option to revive back at the settlement, and the only thing you lose is durability on your items, of which affects you not at all because you're running with broken gear. You can instead use this as a way to transport materials from one settlement to another for free. The inn fast travel recall is fantastic. Now, fast travel is the main way of traveling to settlements or fast travel locations that you visited to, so long as you are at one of those locations. This one is not free like the inn recall. Azoth is used for the fast travel, and the heavier your inventory is, the more Azoth it costs to teleport. So make sure you put all of your inventory into storage before you fast travel, or it's going to burn up your Azoth real fast. This makes Azoth one of the most valuable resources in the game for traveling and transporting goods around the world. You can collect Azoth from questing. You can collect it from killing enemies that are over level 25 with a blue glow. And you can get it from destroying corrupted portals, which is amazing if you have a group of players to team up with. If you can get gathering tools with Azoth enchantments, you can have a percentage chance to get 1 Azoth just by gathering, which is so awesome and useful. You can also buy a house, which will allow you to teleport to the house for free. The cooldown varies from 4 hours to faster depending on how big a house you bought. This is one of the tactics used to level all the way to level 60 in 59 hours. More on that later in the video. Now, here are some really important things that many players do not know. When it comes to transporting goods and knowing what you own scattered all over the other settlements, it is important that you realize that from any storage box, you can look at all of your other storage boxes in every other city. What's more is that if you are in a settlement controlled by your faction, you can actually access all other storage boxes remotely that are also in a settlement controlled by your faction. So yes, PvP definitely matters. If your faction owns a territory, you have 10% faster gathering in that area. You have plus 50 global loot luck in that area. So you'll have a higher chance of finding better loot. Fast travel is also cheaper in your territories. The benefits get even better if your company owns the territory. Bigger fast travel discounts, housing and crafting discounts. Basically, being in a faction-controlled territory kind of rocks. It is by no means essential, but it does make things a lot easier. So definitely do your part to help maintain control of your favorite locations. As you quest, gather, and kill your way through the zones, you will actually gain levels in each of these areas. This will give you some important choices to make. If you want to hit level 60 before anyone, then you're going to want XP and faction bonuses. If you want to harvest, then you're going to want to choose the harvest options. If you plan on crafting and selling, there are options for those as well. My advice is to always take the faction reputation and storage space over everything else. Faction reputation is huge because the benefits of controlling an area are awesome. Storage space, well, obviously, that is the most impactful, tangible problem that you're going to be dealing with forever. So having the maximum amount of storage space in every single settlement for your treasures is kind of a really big deal. This is why buying a house is so important if you want to see some serious gains. Having all that extra storage capacity is so important, and being able to teleport there for free to stash is a game changer. The rent is well worth the benefits, but remember to be patient. The first time you buy a house, you will get a massive price reduction. That means you really want to buy the biggest house you can possibly get on your first purchase, because it will save you an insane amount of gold. And remember, gold is everything. The reason you are playing this game is gold. That is the overarching everything that is New World. With gold, the world is yours. Some weapons are a lot more expensive than others. Muskets, for example, is a very expensive weapon choice because every time you pull that trigger, it's costing you money. Bullets are not free. You have to craft them or buy them. The best way you can earn bullets is actually to buy them from the faction vendor in the town. In order to do this, you need gold and faction rep. The best way to get this is to run faction PvP missions at night when the server population is low. That way, you can run through the missions without the stress of PvP hunting parties running all over the place looking for trouble. Late night gaming sessions are far more peaceful, and you can do these PvP missions with relative ease, netting you a ton of faction rep and buying up a ton of bullets for a fraction of the time it would have taken to track down all of the crafting components to make the ammo yourself. Another really important thing to remember is to cash in 3 faction missions per day. You can see it at the top. There are 3 daily faction turn-ins that are worth double the XP gain, so make sure you cash in your 3 biggest quests every day. If you have a lot of extra faction rep, consider buying up the Runes of Holding, which is one of the crafting components to make bags, which you can use yourself or sell for a pretty solid profit usually. If you are buying products off the market board, make sure you are buying in a settlement close to the harvest location for super cheap prices. Likewise, if you are selling your goods, make sure you are selling in a location that the resources aren't easily collected, so you can charge a lot more for your goods. Something many players don't know is that you can change the marketplace to show every single settlement on the map instead of just the one you are in. This is great for doing market research so that you know where to buy and where to sell for the best profit. Another important feature to know is that clicking on a settlement on the map shows you the current level of all the crafting stations, as well as how high the taxes are. Very important when you are considering where to buy a house or where to do all of your crafting. Now, for all you speedrunners out there who want to level all the way to 60 in under 3 days, the key is actually the town board. Town board missions will give you gold and XP
for working on your gathering skills. You are being paid to level up your gathering. So take those missions and use those as motivation to level up your skills. As your gathering and crafting skills go up, so will the town board missions. You will end up dropping bad missions to make room for super high XP good missions, and this progression is how you break the game and leave your friends in the dust. Something that a lot of players don't know is that you earn 10% more XP by having your PvP flag on. I definitely recommend this for those late night gaming sessions when the PvP hunting parties aren't everywhere looking for trouble. 10% higher XP is a huge jump, especially if you are running with all broken gear and have nothing to lose by dying. Remember that you can only change your PvP flag in town. If your PvP flag is on, you can't group up with players unless they have their PvP flag turned on. And you can't heal or revive faction players for help if you have your PvP flag on, so it's not great if you want to run corrupted zones, elite enemies, bosses, or any other group activities. Unless, of course, that group activity is hunting down and murdering all the other factions with their flags up. PvP can be hugely profitable if you are the one winning. If you have a big group of friends and you are winning your fights, you can take PvP missions. Conquer forts, get PvP quests to increase the reputation in a zone to take it over. You can get an insane amount of weapon XP if you kill an enemy PvP flagger who hasn't died in a while. The longer a player lives, the more weapon XP you actually get for killing them. PvP gains can easily be over 10 times higher than PvE gains if you are killing the right people. PvP is relatively balanced. However, weapon skill will make a very big difference in who wins the fight. If your team is tanky and your healers are good, then you will stand a good chance of winning. But again, it is largely a numbers game. Keep your Constitution tanks on the front line with their shields up. Utilize as much mage AoE as possible in group battles, and have your maxed out dex monsters hunting down the light armor targets with their musket burn shots. If this video helps you, please consider joining my team by hitting like and subscribe. A massive thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel going. You can support for as little as a coffee a month. Check the links in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh yeah!